Years and years ago, if you ever watched a printer printing out on these big boxes of form feed type paper, you'd hear the dot matrix printer kind of going back and forth, and it would just print just endlessly on these sheets of paper. They're all continuous though, it just kept on going. If you noticed on a lot of these sheets of paper, there were like bands of green. They called it green banding. And what that was when you would later on look at the printout, it was a little bit easier to see because you had the green bands kind of breaking up the the monotony of just row after row after row of just endless information. It just made it easier to read. Well, we can kind of do that now with our data. And what I have here is just a simple list here of just mind-numbing on and on data here. All right. So maybe to make it a little bit easier on the eyes to kind of read and kind of go through, what you might think about doing is something like this, where we can make it where the even rows or the odd rows are colored in, and it just makes it easier to kind of read row after row. And this is what we call banding. All right, so we have like the even or odd row banding. Here we have column banding even, so if you wanted to do it like this, you could do that too. And then we also have banding in groups of whatever. So in this case, it's groups of 5. The banding is on, then it's off, then it's on, then it's off. This looks more like the green barring that we had back in the in those dot matrix printer days. It's pretty wild. But anyway, all of this is achieved, okay, by using conditional formatting. And more specifically, where we're going to go in and actually make our own rules, put our own formulas in to make this happen. And what I did, just to make it convenient here, I put a list of a few different kinds of formulas that you can put in to do what I showed you on those 3 tabs at the bottom. So the first one we're going to do will be something like this. Now in this case, we're doing the color banding on the odd rows, and that would have been these 2 here, more specifically the first one here. So that formula right there does what you see here. If I did the second one, then you would have seen the even rows with the green band instead of the odd rows. All right, so we're going to start out with that one first. So to do that, the first thing you need to do, and this is really, really important when you're doing conditional formatting, is you need to select the area that you want to be affected by this formatting. Now, we don't want row 1 to get any kind of formatting, so we're going to start with row 2 here, and we're going to select all the way across like this, all right? That's as far as we want the coloring to go. So when you look at this one here, that's as far as we want to go, all right? And then as far as the depth goes, I think we got quite a ways to go down. So I think what I'm going to do is I've got that area selected across. Then what I'll do is I'll just do my Control, Shift, and then my down arrow key. And that goes down a little over 1,000 or 2,000 rows there. Then what I'll do is I'm just going to elevator back to the top here so I can see the formula, so you can see it and see what we're doing. All right. So that is the very first thing you need to do. So any kind of conditional formatting that you ever do, and by the way, I have a whole video series, it's module 3 of Excel, that does nothing but conditional formatting. It's just a ton of stuff, you guys. So if you're interested in stuff like this, you definitely want to check out those videos. Anyway, that was kind of like the station break there. All right, so we get the area selected. That's the first thing. Then we're going to go over into the conditional formatting. All right, and then we're going to go down into new rule. All right, and let me just move that over here. So there it is. So the first thing is we need to tell it that we're going to use a formula right there, and then the formula we're going to be putting here. So the formula we're going to be putting in to start this off with will be the odd one, right? This first one here. So all we do is we do equal, and then I do my row. This doesn't do like the autofill, like when you type in just a few characters on a regular spreadsheet. So you actually have to really type in everything. Doesn't matter if you do it in uppercase or lowercase. What I'll do, maybe just to make it more readable here, I'll just do it all in uppercase. But it doesn't matter about the case. So equal row, right? I'm not row, I'm sorry. I'm messing that all up. Equal MOD for mod, left parenthesis, and then ROW for row, right? And then a left and a right parenthesis. It might look like there's spacing in here. There's no spacing in the formulas there, right? So it's just equal mod, left parenthesis, row, left, right parenthesis, and then a comma, all right? And then the number 2, and then a right parenthesis to balance it off. So that right there, believe it or not, is going to cause that banding to happen. Now, we have to tell it what we want the banding to look like. So we go down to Format, go over to Fill, pick a color, maybe we'll make it green, all right? Hit OK, that's it. That's all you got to do. Once you're done, we hit OK, and there we go. And there is our banding for the odd rows. What I really like about this is that if I were to go into data here and tell it that I want to sort it, let's say by column E, or D, I mean, so I click on to A to Z here, and even though it rearranged my data, obviously, the banding stays intact because it's not really focused on the row of data, but the fact that the row is odd. That's it. All right, so that's why you can get away with this. If you did this by hand, where you did the banding, where you went in there and used the paint bucket here to do the band and band and band, and then you went to sort it, then it's going to be a mess. But that's all you have to do. I'm going to hit undo, just because I want it to be kind of random data here. Okay, so there it is. That looks great. Now, if you ever needed to change this, let's say you decide, oh, I think I'd rather go with the even row instead. All right. Now you don't have to like redo this. What you can do is go back, be somewhere in the data that you've formatted. Click on a conditional formatting and go down to Manage Rules. See, and that will then show you all of your conditional formats that you have. Well, we just have one here. What you'll do is you'll double click it, just like that, and that takes you into here where then you can specify what you want to change. Now, you don't, when you're in areas like this, you don't want to use your left or right arrow keys. The only keys that you can use are whatever you're typing in and the backspace and delete keys. All right. So really all I need to do here is just add the equal 0 to this. So I'm going to go right to here, hit equal, type in 0, right? That's all I got to do. I'm done. I hit OK, and now it flips it to the even ones now. That's not bad. All right. Now, I'm not a real big fan of this, but if you wanted to do, let's say, the odd rows, or the odd, I should say, the odd columns. Odd columns would be like A, C, E, and so forth, or your even ones, which would be B and D and F. All right. If you wanted to do that, how would you do it? How would you make that happen? Well, we could do a whole new one here, but I think what we'll do is we'll go back into conditional formatting. We'll go down to our Manage Rules, right? We'll double click here, and all we really need to do, if you look at the formula, the only big difference is we're using the word column in place of the word row. So all we really have to do here is I'll be very doctor-like here and click right after the W in there, right? Backspace it, and then type in column, right? Just like that. That's all I got to do. Hit OK, and then OK, and there you go. Not bad. All right. Now for the last one that we're going to do here, we're going to do we'll do some bands of 5 here, I think. So, and we'll just salvage what we have here. So I'll just go back into conditional formatting, go down to Manage Rules, double click it, and I could probably salvage a little bit of this, I guess up to maybe row in this case. So what I'll do, well, I don't have row anymore, so I'll just go to the end here, backspace all the way back to mod, all right, and here I'll type in row, left and right, all right. Now I'm going to do the band of 5, so row left and right, and then a hyphen or a minus and a 2, right? Comma, 5 times 2, right? Close off the parenthesis, all right? And then put a plus 1, all right? And then less than or equal to, and then a 5. Now, if you were to want to do 10 instead, the only difference between them is that instead of a 5 for groups of 5 that you see in both places, it'll be a 10. If you want to do groups of 3, then in this case you'd have a 3 in place of the 2 5s. All right, so a 3 and a 3. So you can do anything you want. I just picked 5 and 10 just for the heck of it, but I mean, that's up to you how you want to do this. But we're going to do it as 5, right? Hit OK, and there we go. There's our groups of 5. But if we sort it, it's still going to stay in the groups of 5, just like you see there. So really good stuff there. And, you know, it makes it very, very easy to read, I think, as you're going through this. So hopefully you'll be able to use it. I know this is pretty popular with a lot of my students. I'll sometimes show like a beginning class how to do this, you know, and they really enjoy it. And it's really, it's not that difficult of a thing to kind of fathom here. So what I'm going to do here real quick, just as a review, just so that you have it here, I'm going to first of all delete what I have for conditional formatting. I'm going to delete all the rules. I only have one. So to do that, you just click somewhere in the data, conditional formatting, manage rules, choose the rule, hit delete, hit OK, done. You're back to square one. So what did we do? So let's say we're going to do now the, we'll do the even one this time. So the even rows. So the first step, if you remember, is we'll go to here, Control Shift, right arrow key, down arrow key, right? And then I'll just elevator back up to the top here, all right? And then, so that's the first thing. You always have to do that. Next thing, conditional formatting, new rule, all right? Use a formula, go to here, and you type in the formula. So we're going to do equal, and then MOD, left parenthesis, ROW, left right parenthesis, and then we're going to do even, so we'll do a comma, 2, all right? Close the parenthesis, equals 0. So that equals 0 is what differentiates that between the odd one. Then we go to format. You pick what you want. So you might say, well, I don't know, maybe it'd be a little bit different here. I could go over to the fill and go to my pattern and maybe pick like a dotted pattern here. That's going to look really nasty. And then we'll pick like red. That'll look really bad. But we just do that. All right. Now we go ahead and hit OK. So now that's going to be your look every other row, right? Hit OK. There it is. Now, I don't know about you. I found that pretty hard to read, but you might say, hey, I love it. Well, go for it then. So anyway, so that's how you do it. So hopefully this helped you. Hopefully you'll be able to use this in some of your data type worksheets. Appreciate you watching the video. Thanks a lot.